Welcome to Cinema Discussions. My name is John. I am joined by our senior sci-fi TV show reboot into films correspondent, Vaughan.
Our senior unnecessary alien artifact correspondent.
And we are discussing Star Trek Beyond, the third in the modern Star
Beyond
Trek
the trilogy.
films. Yes. It's interesting to me that in the
Beyond the story.
I think a couple theaters did the marathons of it, and in the advertisements they put all three of the logos right next to each other, and so it was Star Trek, nice and big, and then it was Star Trek Into Darkness, where Into Darkness was then getting bigger, and then it was Star Trek in small print, and then Beyond really big. So then the next movie's just not even going to have...
It's not even going to say Star Trek.
It's just going to have the name of it. Like, even the poster for Star Trek Beyond, for the IMAX one,
it's Star Trek says, Infinity or something.
Just says Beyond on that one.
Yeah,
so
it's got an itty-bitty Enterprise.
Yeah, there's no Star Treks on there. So, that's how they go with that. So before we get into our spoilers of the film, we're going to give you our recommendation for this film. So... how would you recommend it?
I would, moderately strongly recommend it.
Yeah, I think, first of all, if you like Star Trek, then I say go see this movie.
I don't know about that. It kind of depends on how strongly you...
if you hate the last two reboots, then you like the original stuff, then then of course.
Yeah,
but
if you have a strong problem with these three reboots compared to like the other Star Trek movies, then probably not.
Yeah, but if you'd like the last two films, then I think this continues on their story, these stories very well. So I think it works to that degree. It holds true to that. I don't think you should be scared off by Justin Lin as the director. It's not a Fast and the Furious.
It kind of is. It's more action-y than Star Trek.
We'll see on that stuff, but I can see where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's a good continuation in the series. So. Nothing to avoid there if you already like the other stuff, and if you like the other ones that they made out, then I think this will be good for you to see. I encourage you to see it. Mm-hmm. So now, spoiler alert. Now we're gonna get into the depth of it.
Or what's the teleporter sound this time?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, spoilers.
Anyway, so this one's written by Simon Pegg and Doug Jung. And Doug Jung plays Ben, who is Sulu's husband in the film.
Oh, okay.
It's a small little role, but I just noticed that because I saw his name in the credits as well, in the acting credits as well as in the writer's credit.
Oh, okay.
Who is that guy?
It's like, who is this?
Who's Ben? Just listed as Ben. So, Sulu's husband.
Yeah, I don't know too many Asian guys named Ben.
Yeah.
It's probably a very select crowd.
And so that there was all the media coverage about that beforehand, because
there was a lot of hoopla about that for such a really
a small thing,
a 5-second part of the movie.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was it. I thought oh, okay, this is Sulu and this little girl. And there's the guy who and they walk off arms around each other. It's like, oh, okay. I was expecting a lot more for how much people were talking about it.
Yeah, and they did it as an homage, and as having him as being the first gay character that they show in this universe. Mm-hmm. But so there was the debate of whether or not it's good to make a character who hadn't been shown as gay before as gay, and I like Simon Pegg's argument, which was if they introduce a new character as their gay character, then it's the gay character from Star Trek, rather than just making this a part of his character. And they made it just a small thing. Like the first time you see a reference to his family in the film is you see a picture of his child. Mm-hmm. And so that's the first thing you see. So now it's like, okay, so he has a kid.
Yeah, from the very beginning of this movie. In the previous two, there wasn't anything.
No, there wasn't anything with that. But this one, you see that reference that he has a kid, so we know that he's got a family at home. Then when they go to their home, they see everyone's reuniting with people.
Yeah.
And
I think they were just meeting family members on Yorktown Station.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were specifically living there because they said it was a new station.
yeah, so they must have been.
I think they were just meeting
they
there.
were at least living there for a bit.
Whatever.
Yeah,
something like that.
Well, I mean, his home is essentially the ship because
Yeah.
they're spending years on the ship
Yeah.
and everything. But so it's just a small thing, and I think they did it well. If they didn't change his character at all, they just put that in there. Of, by the way, he has a husband and a kid.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think it was well done with that. So the story, I'm gonna say that it wasn't as crazy action as I thought it was going to be based on the trailer and based on the idea of having a Fast and Furious guy behind it, because they showed like the motorcycle in the trailer and they showed that stuff, like, which they had those scenes of that, and there was the big action scene where they take down the ship in
the opening action sequence.
Yeah, but it wasn't
first act action.
like there was the action that you'd want to see in these big screen Star Trek films.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of I almost compared a lot of the Twilight Zone episodes to Star Trek episodes.
Like in the old Twilight Zone?
Yeah, old Twilight Zone to the original series Star Trek stuff, where it's thought-provoking scenarios.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, making them philosophical thought pieces more than like a sci-fi action show. In some of the best episodes, where you're like, oh, what it would be like if this race of people were like this, and it's a commentary on parts of our own society in viewing other alien cultures.
And from the people who I've talked about regarding these new reboots and the entire other rest of the Star Trek continuum, that's kind of their biggest complaint. Like, now these three movies are these action-based movies versus the much more generally much more contemplative parts of, like, especially the original series and probably a large part of Next Generation. Starting with Deep Space Nine, they kind of went into left field. And then in Voyager, it was I did really like Voyager. It definitely a little bit more of a I want to say sci-fi serial than a little more intellectual compared to the other shows. What was the one after that? Enterprise?
Yeah,
I didn't watch that at all. Enterprise was awful.
So I think that's what it would be lacking. It still has bits and pieces of that in there. Like, it's not completely abandoned, but especially in our main villain in this one, Crawl.
Yeah. Who is really not explained very well until that very end
until
part.
The end. Yeah, because he's a mystery until then. But you've got the kind of his connection with the hive, kind of B-esque things, but they're not really. Their spaceships are kind of more or less that. They're linked communications, but they're not. Yeah. They're not all controlled by. They're not the same kind of hive mind as you think of with, like, the Borg or something like that. Yeah. But so Crawl, you've got as a former Federation pilot.
Calling him like a 100-year-old Federation captain, it seemed like they kind of pulled that one out of their ass.
Yeah, I mean, well, he discovered the power through whatever this race was.
Yeah, whatever it was that turned him into this weird alien.
It was when he discovered the power that was able to give him to extend his life by taking life force from other people, and that changed him, and also made him into this other creature.
Yeah, it's like. It's some strange technology, kind of like the Celestials in Marvel.
It's the kind of thing where there is a consequence to the benefits that you get from it, and that's the consequence that he got.
Yeah.
But so you've got
Yeah. Well, speaking of our villain, I was surprised that it was Idris Elba doing that role.
yeah, and I knew from beforehand that he was going to be in the film, and yet I forgot it when I'm in the movie. I'm like, who is the big actor they got for
Yeah,
this?
okay.
I'm like, is that Benicio del Toro in there? Or I'm trying to like pick up on the speech patterns of
Yeah.
him.
He makes both a great hero and a great villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even on the there's that part of the video playback in the derelict of the USS Franklin, where you see him in there. I guess partly because it was a green tinted video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't recognize the guy at all.
Exactly.
Not even at the very end where he kind of looks human again, just a little bit.
I recognized him by then as soon as they when they focused in on him again when they're reviewing the video and replaying it, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like I didn't even cross my mind.
It's kind of weird with the way the timeline works out for when they're making this film and when it gets released. Since Leonard Nimoy died when they were in pre-production for the film,
Right.
So they worked his death into the film.
Mm-hmm.
The narrative of it.
Yeah, it was done fairly well, I would say.
Yeah, it's done pretty well, but it's kind of it's odd as we're looking at it. Like, how much is that? Because he's not really a big factor in the second film. He's mostly just in the first film. So then you in this one you're like, well,
yeah, you see.
it seems a little out of place.
I guess, but you see real timeline Spock. Yeah, much more in the first one. He's having a direct impact.
Yeah.
But then in Into Darkness, he has to mess with the timeline a little bit again. Like, given that Khan is such a big threat to the rest of the Federation.
Yep.
So real-time Spock has to tell that new alternate Spock,
That's right.
the kind of shit he's getting into.
Yeah, I remember that now. So it's, I guess it works having that in there. I think if I'd watched the three of them together, it might have made a better impact on it. It was just with watching this one as a standalone, it kind of was.
Yeah, I would probably go through a bit of an existential crisis if I knew that the me from an alternate future has come back and now is like he is both me and not me, and he has now passed away. I guess all in all, Spock handled it fairly well, even though they do specifically make him a little more human than half human, half Vulcan, just in his emotional range.
Yeah.
So maybe if he kind of struggled with that a little more.
I mean, he kind of dealt with that a lot in was it in the second film or was it in the first film? Where going with the flashbacks of his upbringing.
It might have been the first one.
Yeah.
I didn't get to rewatch them.
But the other thing that was interesting was the audience's reaction every time Anton Yelchin was on screen. And it was nice that he had a good role in this film alongside Captain Kirk, and they're going to do that. I was worried at the beginning that he was going to be underutilized, and then we wouldn't. As his last Star Trek film.
That's not so good. Well, only because we know about this after the fact.
Exactly.
That happened like a month ago.
Yeah, it's after the film's already done.
Pretty much already done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, they work him into the credits.
Yeah.
Which was more or less all they could do.
Yeah, and they had already had Nimoy's dedication in that too, so you got a double dedication on that. Yeah. So it's sad to lose him, and it makes a different tone when looking at the film because you're watching him on screen and knowing that the actor's gone.
I mean, other people have had worse movies as their last film.
Oh, absolutely, and he did other smaller films too. And he had Green Room out earlier this year, which was a really good film. So he's still good with that, but it's the other problem of him being so young and having so much potential.
Yeah.
Of the films that he could have done after that. and then we'll see what they do with the third film for how they address that. Probably fourth film. With I guess in a way similar to how they did with Nimoy's Spock, because he's gonna let her.
Yeah, like how do you deal with that?
Because he's part of their crew.
Yeah, I mean he's part of the core crew. I mean, yeah, he's command crew.
Yeah, so it's the. Did he leave? Like, do you? Because you'd have to kill his character because he's not coming back. So you can't just be like, oh, he left for another thing.
Yeah.
But then again, you can't show him dying on a mission because we don't have that. I mean, they could do the digital face replacement. They did. Yeah. They did get the guy to direct this that did Fast and Furious, although he didn't do the latest one where they did the film without
Paul Walker.
Paul Walker, yeah. Where they did the digital face replacement on that. Yeah. So like, there's the possibility you could do that, but then it's always tough. Like,
that's gonna be a hard one.
Because they have to address it in some way. They've already got it so that they've built the new ship, rebuilt the Enterprise.
Yet another Enterprise.
Yeah, they're gonna keep building this Enterprise.
It's kind of weird that they have that the Enterprise has gotten its ass kicked in all three of these movies.
Yep, maybe the next one it'll stay intact. I think.
It's like wow, how expensive is this crew to the Federation? Just comparatively speaking.
Well, I mean, if you compare it to the cost of Yorktown now, because that's got to be so freaking expensive that I guess the ship is just such a small cost compared to that.
Yeah.
And you've got the wealth of so many planets that you're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, they don't really use money anymore.
No, but just the resources is what.
Yeah. I mean, still, that's got to be an outrageous amount of stuff.
Absolutely, it's completely unfeasible, and just the idea of I like the one line that they were talking about when Yorktown was when they were getting to Yorktown.
Yeah,
like rather than building it on a planet that already exists, like you have to just build this whole thing.
Jesus, can't we just rent a place on some planet?
Yeah, like that was Carl Urban, the Bones who was saying that. Spock's like, it's. Can't show favoritism to anyone.
McCoy is super cynical in this one.
Oh yeah. something about McCoy too. Like I think I noticed it more in this film than in other ones, where it seems so much like he's playing that character of being like the character from the original film, being a caricature of the original Bones McCoy.
Yeah, a little more of a caricature.
Then. I think it I don't know why it stood out to me more in this film than in the other films.
It did seem like he gets a lot more one-on-one time in these scenes in this one. It's him and Spock that are stuck together for a pretty significant portion of Act 2.
That was a kind of nice thing too, is to see the crew split up so much like that in these pairings.
And you can get all of your main characters, and they get like a whole scene to themselves.
Yeah, it felt like you got more individual time with them.
Yeah.
And one of the complaints that I had heard about in the last two movies, in compared to the TV show, is that you have to always use the whole crew. Whereas on the TV show, you get episodes where you get to focus on just a few members at a time because you're turning out so many more stories. This one, you only get one story every couple of years. Mm-hmm. So if you only use two of the crew members, if this is going to be like a Sulu solo mission thing, then all of your other actors aren't utilized. And so it's a waste on those ones. So this one, you kind of get that a little more by having them split up. And I think that's an interesting way to do it. So that's the problem is, even if on a future film you say, okay, Spock and Kirk are going to go down, at least the two of them, maybe one more onto a planet. They're going to investigate it. Well, something's got to be happening to the ship because we have to use the rest of our characters. We got to know what else is going on. We can't just have Chekhov just say one line.
Yeah, we can't spend a whole 22 minutes just on the planet.
Yeah. So that's I mean, since you do have with a whole 2-hour film, you've got more time that you can spend on it. So you can get that when they're split up like this and spend more time with each of the people and get to know them a little more. I still think you did get to. I felt like you didn't get enough time with Sulu and Uhura. as compared to the other ones. It might have just been that they weren't as crucial. They were like taken by Crawl, so
Yeah, Sulu didn't have a whole lot of dialogue time.
No.
Uhura did have a fair amount. I mean, she and that other crew lady had like a whole scene with just them and the villain.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Then you've got Uhura and Spock together like 2 or 3 times.
It was interesting how because you want to build up meaningful deaths in the film, but you can't kill off your main characters unless they die in real life. And so the one lady who was hiding the artifact.
Oh yeah, the facehugger.
Yeah, so you show her a couple times in the film.
It weirdly looks so much like a reverse facehugger.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I wonder where they got that idea from.
So they show her a few times in the film and try to build her up enough so that when she dies, it's not just another red shirt.
Another red shirt.
Yeah, and
although she was blue.
Yeah,
but still.
But just not compared to the red shirt. It's not the same kind of meaningless. We don't care when they're dead.
Yeah.
But it's still, she's a new face that we don't know. So it's not even as much as like Sulu's Chekhov's friend. There's still we don't know her enough that there's like a big emotional thing for her death on there. But it was still trying to build something for it.
Yeah.
Let's see. What other moments that stood out to you in this movie? I like there's the joke at the beginning with the creatures that were like these deep voice angry monster.
Yeah,
and
the little
tiny
pit bulls, the alien
things. Yeah. But I actually really liked what they were saying in the beginning of it, and this speaks more to the kind of classic Star Trek thought pieces when they're handing over this artifact, and the aliens are saying, "Well, where did they get this artifact? What is it?" And it's like, it used to be part of. Did they steal it? Did they? We don't want to take this if this is a stolen thing. Like that scene is this funny little thing at the beginning that everything in this film keeps being important to something. They're not just throwaway moments, because that's the piece that Crawl was looking for. And if they had accepted that gift, then Crawl would be going after them.
Yeah, but they couldn't know that.
Well, what they're suspicious is what it is they must have encountered things in the rest of their existence that they've known that you should always question free things that are given to you as
true, yeah.
peace offerings.
Although they said that, or I think Crawl was explaining that these 2 components that make that super weapon, one you have the little medallion, and then some other piece. I don't know if it was the pedestal or the disc that it goes in. Yeah, that thing. So he says those were made and they were cast off into the stars like 1,000 years ago. Whatever typical sci-fi trope.
Yep.
And then the planet that was offering the medallion as a gift, it probably just ended up there. But crash landed on the surface.
So regardless of what they know what it is, it's just this is the kind of Trojan horse weary thing. Like you are just beware of the gifts that these strangers are giving.
Smallpox blankets.
Yeah. So it's I think that was a good moment in there. Whereas the Kirk and the Federation are just thinking, we're just brokering this peace deal. Just take this thing. It's an offering of peace. Why would you not accept this? And then later seeing what kind of damage that causes by them having it. That was that became so much more meaningful in there. And then everything as you go on with the Franklin being down there, just we haven't found a ship. It happened to be it like builds up to so much more.
Yeah, and weirdly the Franklin was more durable than the Enterprise was.
Yeah.
for being a 100-year-old ship.
Well, the other thing I like that they mentioned too is that those ships were the Franklin was built in space.
In space for space,
Yes.
and not meant to be there on a planet.
So it's reminiscent of the Futurama episode where they're going underwater in the ship.
Oh yeah.
How many atmospheres of pressure can the ship take? Well, it's a spaceship, so anywhere between 0 and 1.
Yeah.
But the ship is not even meant to take off from a planet. Just obtaining escape velocity is already risky on this because it's supposed to be just in space, traveling through space, and never going to.
I mean that's why they invented teleporters.
Yeah.
So we don't have to land on
so
there.
much more efficient on there.
Yeah, and then not only is it still structurally sound enough, barely, to get off the planet, but then they use it to go up against the horde of the alien spacecrafts.
So what do you think about the music they used to? Look, they established it in the first film. They established first the love of Beastie Boys. Which is a thing that JJ puts in everything now.
Given that, I guess
he had a pilot in Star Wars named Ello Asti, which is a play on Hello Nasty. And it's on his helmet it says "Born to Ill" on the.
And they threw in that joke is like, why are we listening to classical music?
Yeah,
I guess because Beastie Boys would be like 300 years old then.
It's that kind of thing. I mean, it's the same kind of thing of, well, it's not the classical as in that as classical compared to Baroque compared to
like 1600s, 1700s.
That same kind of way.
We're talking like 21st century.
That's all. Yeah, all of that's referred to as classic. I mean, they can't. It's not oldies because it's not 30 years old. It's just the kind of oldie stuff. So this is this is historical.
This is like historical music.
But it's also that they specifically had Sabotage playing, which works too. They're sabotaging the other ships. But it made this. It was a fun moment. It was odd, and it doesn't.
Given that they turned this this hive of little needle ships into a literal wave.
Yes.
I don't know. Let's have the Franklin surf the wave. Oh my god.
Well, but you've got you've got waves of explosion going out from that of the force that are going through it. So there is something. That's
it's like how close do we have to get?
There.
Very close.
So there's a lot of conceit that you have to give for it for that moment, and that I think that's probably the biggest. I mean, you can't even just blame that on Justin Lin as a moment because they have those moments in the other films too.
Yeah, it had to go through a lot of people's desks to get to this point.
Yeah, but those moments have now been established in this franchise. If you look at the big moments at the end of the last film,
it's a action-y Star Trek.
Yeah. So they have to have those in there, but I think as long as you can balance it by having some thought-provoking pieces before it, I think they could use it a little more in the future films.
Yeah.
But it's there in these ones. It's just not necessarily enough. I watched this one on IMAX 3D. And again, this is another one of these films where I saw it and that they didn't use the full IMAX aspect ratio, even though it was on there. So that's kind of disappointing on it. I don't think anything that I noticed that was 3D worthy. The film, nothing really stood out to me as why it.
Just kind of regular 3D.
Yeah, not even that it. Well, the positive to that is that they're not using gimmicky 3D on it, not stuff just shooting out towards the audience, but still, there's moments in other films like the Krypton scene in Man of Steel or in Thor where you go to Asgard for the first time, like seeing that landscape of that beautiful thing. I didn't really get that much in this film, even though they have the moments where you go to Yorktown and stuff, but it just didn't feel that.
Yeah, the Yorktown overhead shots would have been really good to pull out the 3D.
I mean, you'd think so, but it just didn't. The way they did it,
so you can see the real scale of it.
Yeah, didn't really notice as much with it, and that's another shot that would have been great to see in IMAX as well. Like, pull out the big aspect ratio for those shots, but didn't notice anything. Nothing stood out to me in those at least. But the film works well on a big screen. Just a shame to have that available and not really utilizing it. Yeah. Any other things that you didn't like about the film?
No, it didn't have anything that really jumped out as a severe failing of it.
I like the woman who pulled them out there as a trick, who was working for Kroll. Because I suspected something was up from the beginning with her. As
the black and white face girl.
Not the one who was
the rescue girl.
Yeah, the rescue girl.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing where it just used to in that Star Trek universe.
This is clearly a trap.
Yeah, we know that this is a trap from what we've seen in the other ones.
Yeah.
And the fact that Kirk didn't fully believe her, at least believed her at the beginning enough to go out there and fall into the trap. But as soon as that trap was gone, he knew that he couldn't trust her, but he knew that he had to pretend to trust her to get close enough to her to find out. But so that was nice, and her death was kind of interesting, just getting crushed.
I was like, well, that did it.
Yeah. So overall, I think a nice film. It did well over the weekend. Made $95.5 million out of its $185 million budget, so halfway to making it back. And it should make that back. It's doing well enough. It'll be interesting how far they can go with the film series.
On the one hand, I'm kind of glad that they're not just rehashing all of the original 6 movies.
I mean, yeah, they already did that with the other one, with the last one.
They did that with 2. Because Star Trek 2 is easily the best of all of them.
Yeah, it's that thought of like you can't.
Yeah,
it may be a ripoff to do Khan, but if you're gonna do a film series and not have Khan in the reboot universe, then you're like,
yeah, I mean, he's easily the best villain of the entire franchise.
Yeah. So I think that was a move that they wanted to do early enough on.
Yeah.
To know, like, because you don't know if you're gonna get enough films out there to hold them off for later.
Yeah.
And it's the second one in the series, so you might as well. So maybe in the next one we'll have to search for some character, or we can find a journey home at some point.
Yeah, search for dead Spock.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what they hold in the future ones, and what they do without Anton Yelchin. That's the most interesting thing for me in the next film, is how they're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
So star ratings for this film.
Would I see it again? Probably.
I definitely watch it again before the next film. I watch it at least.
If I had a reason to, I'd probably see it in the theater again. Yeah, so that's like the first measure of it. Worth owning on DVD later on when it comes out, certainly. So I'm going to say probably like just about a solid 4.
Yeah. I think I could give it a 4. There's something about all of these Star Trek films. When I first see them, I think not as into them as much, so I may have to come back to it, in a year or so and think about it again. Because with the last film, when I first saw it, I enjoyed it, and then looking back, and I was like, I don't know if it was that good. I think it was just from hearing everyone's complaints on it, and then watched it again for instant discussions and really liked it. Thought it was still a good, solid film. So I think I'm gonna stay with a 4 on this one. I think that it's good, an apprehensive 4, but I'll give it that, and time will tell if it holds up to the other ones. But after that initial viewing, I go with that. I think it's a solid film, and I can't wait to see what else they give us in the future. Cool. Thank you for watching and listening to our show. You can check out more of our episodes on MagicApeTV.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher and leave us reviews. Give us your star ratings for us. And let us know if there's any films that you want us to discuss. You can write to us at magicapetv@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at MagicApeTV. Thank you.